Moi, tervetuloa Takakansi-podcastiin. Nyt on erikoistilanne. Me ollaan mun vieraan kanssa täällä Rickardin kirjaston johtajan vanhassa huoneessa. Ja tämä jakso tulee olemaan englanniksi, koska mulla on täällä vieraana islantilainen kauhukirjailija Hildur Knútsdóttir.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
I've been wanting to say welcome to the show a lot because some podcasts I listen to, like Ed Strackline and those like very high level, they always say that just the name and then welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Sounds good.
How are you doing? Welcome to Helsinki. I think you mentioned in your talk that it's the second time here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, it's great to be back here, and the weather is so nice. We've been having horrible weather in Iceland for the past 2 months, so it's very good to see the sun still exists.
Oh yeah, it's very nice.
Yes.
When the light comes, it feels like there's life again.
Yes, exactly. And you're like, why have I been so sad? And then you're like, okay, I'm basically a plant. I just need sunlight.
Yeah. So as we have nothing in common, like in Finland and in Iceland, you mentioned also you talked that we have many things in common, and we like to make fun of Sweden and the other countries.
It's so easy to make fun of Sweden for some reason.
But the darkness also, I guess. I've never been to Iceland, but it's there total darkness in the winter.
Yes. So in Reykjavik, so I mean it's more dark in the north of the country because Reykjavik is in the south. But like in the darkest times, the sun rises at I think like 11:40, and then it sets just before 2 again. So we have like 3 or 4 hours of sunlight. And sometimes, it's so low in the sky that even if Reykjavik isn't like a big city with like really tall buildings, the sun still doesn't rise over the houses, the roofs of the houses. So if you don't go to an area where there's a lot of nothing around, I think so I realized this December and January that I hadn't seen, and also because it was raining a lot, very cloudy, that I didn't see the sun probably for like 5 weeks or something, which is not healthy, I think.
No, I don't know. Have you ever heard the explanation that because of the total darkness that we have in the Nordics, that there would be some kind of darkness also inside of us in a way that we like dark, like maybe metal music or something, like heavy literature. Do you think that explanation holds any water?
I think so. I mean, I think it makes sense. I think at least, when there's so much darkness, that you start, imagining things and telling ghost stories. And, I remember, I just like thinking about the generations before us that didn't have, electricity. Yeah. And living in like an isolated fjord, and there's no one around, and it's so dark, So I guess it makes sense that we view the world another way. But then I think we talk less about the flip side too, which is then we spend the summer months in total sunshine. Yeah. So I think it makes us kind of bipolar in a way, And I think like in summer you feel that you can do anything and you sleep a lot less. And going out after dinner sounds just like an amazing idea, but nobody wants to go out after dinner in January. You're like, why should... No, I'm not going to leave my house.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think it's so funny. So we've been talking about in Iceland, because we don't change the clock like you do here for summer. And
you don't?
No.
That's nice.
Yeah, we don't change the clock, but some people are talking about changing the clock. But I don't think, like, it's never going to be normal, so why even try to? Yes. So why even bother?
I was just thinking about this because you said that you write horror, and you have written like 20 books at least or something.
I think I've published 22 or 3 books. I think
lots of for young people, and then I read also that you have done plays and screenplays and short stories, series. So that's a huge amount of work. And you mentioned in your talk that there is always some darkness or some dark turn or some scary thing. So, and then you mentioned, but it was very interesting that you kind of write your own fears in them. So you tend to think about what with the worst that could happen now, and or something, and then that gets in the books.
Yes.
So I think the darkness doesn't always explain. It's more about maybe something internal.
Yes, I think, and I read this interview or an article that the horror writer, I don't remember his name, I should have saved it, and he was talking about, how he was so anxious as a child, and that kind of clicked for me, because I was always really anxious and always had a lot of worries, and I think maybe that comes also with having a very active imagination, probably. Because when you're always thinking like what could happen, and I think, a lot of writers and creative people were not happy children, kind of. They were either like they didn't have many friends, or they were quite lonely. So yeah, I think being anxious maybe has something to do with it. Yeah,
that's interesting, because I was like very good, or now I'm losing the word. I could imagine myself in that situation, because I'm anxious all the time, basically, and being like for my life, and like to, or not like, but I tend to go to the worst scenarios in every single thing. For example, when I agreed with Tiina Hautala from Haamu that we could do this interview. So of course I'm start thinking, what could go wrong? I can't make it here. I get lost. I drive in a car accident. Anything. And now we are actually here. Then I believe that this might happen.
And you're like, Hildur is a horrible person. She's gonna be so mean to me, right?
yeah.
No, but also I think like when you imagine the worst, it's such a relief when it doesn't
that's
turn
good
out
point.
that way. Yeah.
So would you like to maybe do some kind of introduction, because I'm not sure if Finnish people yet know that much about you. What do you want to say?
Yeah, so I'm an Icelandic author, and in Iceland I am probably mostly known for my young adult books, but in the last few years I've been writing horror novellas too for adults. And I was very lucky. I went to a really small convention in Iceland in 2021, and there I met this American writer called Mary Robinette Kowal, who used to live in Iceland, so she knows some Icelandic, and she offered to translate The Night Guest, and she introduced me to her agent, who's American, and then things kind of started to take off. So I've sold, my US publisher has bought 4 books, and only one is out. The next one is coming out in May. So and they've been doing really well, which has been really fun. And and so I've sold the rights to Finland and Sweden and Spain, and I think it's so funny and kind of I don't know if sad is the right word, because like that English kind of has to be the middle language, and I sometimes think this about Finnish and Swedish and or Scandinavian literature, like they have to be translated to English for us. I feel it's kind of I don't know, but English is such a big monster.
That's right. And I think at least in here we are kind of worried in a way that English is going to replace somehow the language, because that's one reason, maybe because Finnish author writes something, or you, and then kind of the potential readership is very small.
Yes.
Yeah. It is a sad element.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that from Iceland to America, and then here, and then the others.
Yeah.
But when did you start writing? That's like 20 books. Is it many years? How many?
So my first book came out when I was 28 years old, and I'm 40. I'll be 42 in June. So that's 14 years or something. But I had been writing for a long time before my first book came out. When I was around 18, I decided that I was going to be a writer, and I started writing quite seriously. And I had written 3 whole books before that weren't published. So my first published book was not the first book I wrote. and I was really frustrated when nobody wanted to publish my first books. But afterwards, like thinking back now, I'm really glad that my first published book was not the first one because they probably weren't really good. But now I've been kind of publishing 2 books a year.
That's quite fast.
Yes, but but I took like a break, like 1 year, and then I wrote like 3 books in that time. So I have like a lot of manuscripts in my in my cupboards. No, but I'm kind of in the rhythm now that I publish 2 books a year, 1 young adult book, and then a horror novella. And I mean, like the novellas are quite short, so they don't take me so long to write. But I write quite fast. And I think it's always so funny. People are like, "Oh, you're like," we have this word, duglegur, or like dukti in Danish. If you know Danish, like we don't. It's not a word that exists in English, and it means that you have like that you're always working and always doing something. And I'm always so confused when people call me that, because I spend so much time just like watching Netflix and scrolling on my phone, I never feel like I'm doing I'm doing anything. But I write quite fast, as soon as I sit down. But I don't sit down to write until I know everything that has happened. So usually, when I'm sitting down to write, I've been thinking about the book for maybe 2 years. So I know kind of everything that's going to happen.
Is it in subconscious way, or do you write something down, or is it just comes totally from the head?
It's mostly subconscious. Sometimes I will make like some notes, but it can take me a long time to really get an idea for a book. And I sometimes say that, one idea isn't really one idea. It's usually made up of 3 ideas. So there's a theme, and there's a setting or characters, and then there's a plot, and maybe I've been thinking about some kind of theme for a really long time, maybe for years, and I haven't found the right story for it. For example, the book that's coming out next is about 2 teenage girls, and I've been meaning to, and it's kind of like a friendship breakup. And I knew that I wanted to write something about that. I've known that for, I think, probably 5 years. I was just kind of trying to find the right. And sometimes you have, 2 elements of this, and you're just missing the third. And sometimes I start writing too early, and then I have to stop because it's, as soon as
it's not ready.
It's not ready. And as soon as I run into trouble writing, it's usually because I started too early.
That's very interesting. So it kind of cooks, and then it's ready. It's comes to the paper.
Yes, exactly. And I sometimes describe it as exactly like cooking, that you have like 5 stoves going on, and something is simmering for a long time, and you're focusing on something else. And I think it's really interesting to also let your subconscious work, and because the subconscious is almost like the mice in Cinderella. You can just, it's so often that you think about something and you don't have the answer for it, and then you go to bed, and then you wake up.
Yes.
and your mind has been working all night and you don't know it. Yeah, so I usually try, to not push things and just let I really believe in letting the subconscious do the work.
Is it in Iceland, do you feel like, because you said when you started to talk today, you said that you write horror, but do you feel like you are do you think about being a horror writer, or do you think of a writer that writes horror themes?
I would say that I consider myself a horror writer, and I partly do it. I just want to kind of claim that identity, because in Iceland, I think we are very snobbish about literature, and there's always been this, or maybe not always, but at least during my lifetime, as kind of the realistic novel as like the pinnacle of literature. And it's so often people who write children's books or poetry or short stories, they keep getting asked in interviews, for example. So when is the novel coming?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have the similar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not surprised. And and in that question, when is the novel coming? They mean literary realistic fiction, right? They're not talking about. Yeah. They're not talking about horror story or something. And for the longest time, there was crime writers in Iceland were kind of looked down upon as not being serious literature, and I kind of see the similar thing with genre writing. It's not considered high literature or literary fiction, whatever you call it.
Yes.
Which it is, of course, and I always say, when you're writing speculative and fantasy and sci-fi, it has the same. I mean, you have to have believable characters, you have to have a good plot, it has to be well written, but then you also have to have the world building and everything, and you have to make a whole monster or whatever. So I'm quite conscious of calling myself a horror writer, and because there are so few of us. I think it's like 3 people in Iceland.
Yeah, I was about to ask how big is the...
Yes, and we're all friends and know each other. So I think it's important to talk about that, because sometimes Icelandic publishers will publish a book that is speculative or has fantastical elements, but they will still call it a novel. So they're kind of glazing over the fact. And then at the same time they're saying like, oh no, fantasy doesn't sell. It's like, oh, because you're not calling it fantasy, but it sold really well.
Yeah, my favorite example is the Kazuo Ishikura. His book about the giant or something.
Yes.
That was totally fantasy.
Yeah.
For example, that's one example, but it's like label is different. This is kind of my favorite subject, and also a subject I don't like at all, but the labeling stuff, it's partly marketing, partly those superstition, or like what's that, like you think about something that it's, I don't know the word now. You judge before you read, like, or something.
Prejudice.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's like Ian McEwan published this book a few years ago, and he was like, what if machines became sentient?
Yeah.
And everyone in the literary fiction world was like, oh my God. And the science fiction people were like, we've been talking about this for years,
Yes.
And there was this really interesting review. I think it was a Danish woman who wrote it, actually, and she was just like, how dare you write this and you haven't read what everyone else because because he was inventing a genre or something. But I mean it's just science fiction, and I think it's so funny. So Kate Atkinson is
I know.
Yes, she's an English author, crime author, and I saw somewhere that her books were described as literary crime fiction. And I was like, what does that mean? And they are probably trying to say, like, this is really well written crime fiction, but it's so
it's funny.
And it's kind of and I think it's kind of insulting to crime authors, because I mean every genre has good writing and bad writing.
Exactly.
And there's so much literary fiction that is not well written.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we have all this discussion actually now going on in Finland for some reason again, that why is not like the entertainment literature in if the parentheses those, or why is it not like well appreciated?
Yeah, well regarded.
But it's actually, I don't think it's true, because people are reading it a lot and buying it, and there is some kind of like magical person who would have to appreciate it, but I don't know who that actually is.
Yeah.
But anyway, but it's a kind of discussion that comes and goes. Yeah,
but I think it's so interesting, and and the science fiction and fantasy community is not innocent too, because a lot of the people there talk shit about romantasy and romance novel. So it's kind of this hierarchy, and it's so silly. Like, why are you bashing romance books? Because they basically bankroll the whole of publishing in the US. If people weren't buying romance books, there wouldn't be any money to publish any other. So it's so funny. Like, people are always like making up enemies and making up this hierarchical structure when just read what you love and don't feel.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I guess that's in common also in maybe every country. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if we talk a bit about the book, because you are here kind of because this your book, it was called actually in Icelandic, I think, The Darkness Between the Stars.
Yes, it was called the
I don't know what is the word in Icelandic?
Myrkrið milli stjarnanna.
Yes.
Yeah, the dark between the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it came out as The Night Guest in English, but that was just because I think they liked the English title, but my publisher, Tor Nightfire, had just recently published another book just before they bought mine, which was called The Scourge Between the Stars, and they couldn't be too similar, the title. So yeah.
What else is can be between the stars next?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I just saw a book recently that's called The Darkness Between the Trees, which so there's a lot of
but now the original book was written or published in 2021, so it's like 5 years ago.
Yes.
And now was it 2024 the English version translation, and then now this year it's called Yöjuoksu in Finnish, and it's translated by Eeva-Kaisa Suhonen. And Yöjuoksu it's like, if you try to translate to English, it's like night run, but it's I think Yöjuoksu means also something that you kind of do, maybe if you go out drinking or do something like not morally acceptable, that might be Yöjuoksu in a way. So that's kind of many meanings.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about talking about kind of an old book in now? What is it? Is it like repeating, or do you feel like, how do you look at it?
No, it's I mean, to me, it doesn't, like when you said it, it's almost 5 years since it came out, and it kind of doesn't feel like it. It happens sometimes that I forget books, and like I just recently realized the book that I published in Icelandic just now in March has the same, like, the main character has the same name as the main character in my first book, and I had completely forgotten that. But I remember The Night Guest, like I remember it very well. I think maybe because when I wrote it, because I got the idea for it when I was in the middle of this very complicated, I was writing this young adult trilogy. And it was very complicated. It's about like 3 generations of women, and it's just historical fiction and also fantasy and science fiction. And one book takes place in, the future. So it was like very complicated. And I got this idea in the middle of that trilogy, and I really wanted to take a break from the trilogy to write this. Yeah. And I asked my editor, and she was like, no, you have to finish. So I had been thinking about this book for 2 or 3 years before I started writing it, and I was so glad to like finally have time to sit down and write it. And I wrote it in, I think, like 3 weeks or something. And it was so refreshing, and it felt like taking a shower. And so, and there's something about this book, probably because, as I was saying in my talk earlier, it's probably one of my most personal books, which sounds weird if you read it, but it's based on my fears, because it's about the woman who's always tired. And I had these times in my life a few years ago when I was so tired, and I went to a doctor and they didn't find anything wrong with me, and so I just took all my fears and all my anxiety and poured it into this book. And that was like, I read it first, actually. I read first the Finnish version, and then I think it was a month between, and then I read the English version. Okay.
And it was a fresh experience for some reason, because I think it was like, in a way, it was very, very, very intense experience, and then also there was this kind of lightness, or some like, this is like totally fun, and it was like ironic, and you made fun of things. I think that there was I felt like reading that there was some kind of parodic element even in some things, and then there was total darkness, and then confusion and stuff. So it was like, oh, what's gonna happen? It was, I think it felt like even dangerous. I like that very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that maybe comes from because I hadn't written for adults for many years when I wrote this, and it has a very cynical tone to it, and I think a lot of bleakness, which I would probably not put in a young adult book. So I think it was just like all my intrusive, bitchy thoughts that I've been having, and I hadn't been able to put in books. It just came out, it's like some reviews have said that like oh, I hate this main character. She's a really bad person because she's always thinking so badly about anyone. And I was like, yeah, it's just me. I'm a total bitch. No, but I mean, I think like everyone has bad thoughts, and I just put a lot of mine in there.
Yeah, I like the main character. How can you say the name?
Eden.
Eden. No, it's softer D.
Eden. Yeah, like a the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but she's like, she thinks a lot, and there is like this inner monologue going on, and it's very also judgmental towards others, but also to herself.
Yes.
One of my favorite parts is about something like this. I'm not going to spoil stuff, but she thinks about something like this. That about parties, I think. I like to be quiet in the parties, but I'm kind of frustrated that when I'm quiet, I don't get like, people don't think I'm wise and mysterious, but they think I'm stupid, which is true.
Yes.
And then it's just like that. And then if you're just a man, then they would think that he's mysterious.
Yes.
So, but that's very funny. But those kind of things, there are funny bits, totally like that. And then kind of in next sentence, it could be very dark.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that was kind of what I'm going for. I'm usually, try to be funny because I often put in stuff that I think is funny, and you never know if somebody else thinks it's funny or not. And it's kind of the same thing. I think when you're writing humor, and also when you're writing horror, when you're trying to, scare somebody, you can't tell if it's working unless somebody else reads it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I was listening to some older interview. It was a couple of years ago. I don't remember the channel, but the person said that he was reading that book, and then there was this certain place that was the most scary for him. And then I thought about that. I think yes, I agree that was very like upsetting thing. But then my was like earlier. It actually, I think it said in even the back cover, so we can talk about it. But basically, the woman Eden kind of by accident realizes that she has been walking 40,000 steps during the night that she thought that she was sleeping in her home. So those things were like, it felt like, do you know the movie The Paranormal Activity?
Yes. So
what happens in the night? That's kind of, oh no.
Yes, there's actually a scene in that book which is I kind of lifted directly. I don't know if you spotted it.
I think I might know what you mean now, you said, but I didn't spot it then.
Because one of the things that she does, she starts because she's trying to. It's kind of like a detective story in a way that she starts trying to figure out
what's happening in the night.
What she's doing in the night, and one of the things is she starts filming herself. So, and that was kind of I lifted. There's this scene there that is kind of lifted directly from that. And I think it's always so funny. Like I sometimes get asked like what writers inspire me, and there are writers that inspire me, but I'm also greatly inspired by horror movies and all kinds of things. But there was somebody who asked. I was on a panel about horror this fall, and somebody asked if anybody. It was like a panel of horror authors, and it was asked if anybody could remember like a jump scare in a book. And I've been obsessed with this. I don't know if it's possible to pull off in a book. But I love jump scares, so I'm thinking like, how could you do it?
I think that book has elements, or at least it has some like oh no type of elements.
Yeah.
Or did this actually happen? There's a meeting of a person, and then there was something falling asleep.
Yeah.
And then the person doesn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. And then you start, and it's never explained what's happening. But I like that because you said in your talk that when you write young adult, you want to like take them in a very scary journey, but you bring them back.
Yes.
But for adults, you don't have to. You are on your own.
Yeah, and I think that was also why I really enjoyed writing this book after being, writing young adult for so many years. It was really refreshing to, and I sometimes describe it as, having bigger silences. And like what I'm trying to do in this book is, letting the silence speak. In a lot of places, which I think is really, much harder to do when you're writing for children. And then also this, and the ending of this book is quite ambiguous.
Yes.
So, so I kind of wanted the reader to have to decide. So I mean, to me, there's a possible explanation, and like to my mind, it's quite clear, what's happening. But I kind of wanted to write it in the way that that you can kind of interpret your own ending, because that's what I love. I love movies like this, because I hate, I hate when things are over-explained. Like I love like alien invasion movies, for example, but I hate the moment when the human is taken up to the alien spaceship and the aliens explain to the human what they are doing here. And I was like, no, like when the aliens come, why are they going to explain anything? It's not like we go to the ocean and be like, hey, fish, okay, now we are here and we're gonna, cast our nets because we are
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I hate like over-explaining. But having said that, I feel like when you're writing for teenagers and young adults, you have to do a little bit more explaining. But it was very refreshing not to feel that need here. But I mean, I have to add that there are a lot of readers who are really unsatisfied with the ending of this book.
I actually read one review that the person was like kind of upset, really.
And if you check out the Goodreads ratings, there are a lot of people who are very upset with the ending. And it's been, I've been wondering about this a lot. Whether, US readers have less tolerance for ambiguity than, Nordic readers have. Possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I think also like in Hollywood movies, they usually explain, a lot more.
That's right.
And like I was
even the trailers they might explain.
Yes,
so
exactly.
This means this and this means that. And
and like I just remember. So I was watching a movie called Anatomy of a Fall. Have you seen it? It's a French German movie, and it's about this woman. Her husband falls from the top of the roof, and they think that she pushed him, and it's like a police procedural or like in the courtroom drama about that. And I was watching it with my husband, and he's like, do you think we're gonna find out whether she did it or not? And I was like, no, it's a French movie.
Oh yeah, of course.
And then and then the movie ends, and and we don't know if she's guilty or not. But if it were an American movie, we would probably there would be like a twist at the end, and we would
Oh yeah, that's why it sometimes feels bad when I had this phase that I watched a couple of those like French extremity horror, those classics.
Yes.
And they were like not holding hands basically.
Yeah.
But then I heard that some of them are made into American versions, so I have to think about how they're gonna make this Hollywood style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's so. And there's going to be hopefully a movie version of this book.
That would be interesting.
Yes, and I think one of the things that is probably going to be handled differently must be the ending. Because
maybe.
Yeah,
it depends on what the studio, if they want, that's right.
Yeah, and also because I mean this book is very much kind of inside the head of Idun, and it's really hard to be inside
Yeah, that's true. One perspective, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and we don't know, if she's a trustworthy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. When Tiina Hautala emailed me first about you and you're coming here and do I want to do a podcast episode? Of course I want to. But then she said that this book has elements of kind of of chick lit genre, and there is feminist themes, and then there is horror. So I was like, okay, this sounds exciting. But the chick lit part was interesting. I read a few of those, like I think Kinsella was one. Some of those kind of classics in that genre also. And I thought about that in this book. There's these themes about this person is a woman, and she's kind of going to this self-improvement thing. So, but what do you think about this kind of having that kind of label? It's a label, but
I mean, I don't know. So it wasn't like published like that in Iceland. It was more published as just like, and they kind of disguised it being a horror book. It was kind of published as literary fiction in Iceland. But I think chick lit is a very, something that is very hard to define.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think at its heart, I think chick lit is, it's usually about women trying to live up to what is expected of them, what they feel society expects of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think in that way, that categorization holds up. And they're usually like frustrated women that are, not happy. So this is definitely Iðunn. And it's so interesting also to think about, how a cover affects a book, because the Icelandic cover for this book was very dark and kind of horror-y. And when I first saw the pink cover that my American publisher wanted to use, I was very surprised, and I didn't feel that it fit the story. But then I started thinking that I really like this tension between having kind of like a girly pink cover and then a very dark book, and I think it kind of fits the because there's humor but there's also bleakness. So yeah.
And the Finnish cover, I don't know, is it made to the Finnish, or is it same that is American?
So it's kind of the same color of the American version, but it has a glass of red wine instead of a shoe.
Yeah. Okay, but in Finnish cover you have like this a shoe which has this high heel, and then there's drops of red.
Yes.
So we don't know if it's red wine or blood.
Exactly.
But it could be like, if I look at it, it could be, okay, somebody's gone out to drink and, but then happens other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting to go with the self-improvement stuff. The society wants you to take care of yourself and maybe go to therapy, eat nice diet and stuff. This Yöjuoksu. She's trying to do that kind of, because she hits a wall when she goes to the doctor. No, there is nothing wrong with you, even if every day you wake up very tired and you feel like doing something in sleep. Then she gets kind of no reserve, so she tries to, I have to be on my own.
Exactly. It's this idea, take control of your own health, see, or take responsibility for your own health, which is so frustrating, because usually, health problems are societal problems. Like people with lower income, they don't have time to exercise, or can't afford,
or eat healthy,
or eat healthy, and and in some extreme cases, like in the US, for example, they can't even afford to go to a doctor. So how are you
buy medicine?
And so like this, like individualization of blame is really frustrating to me, and you see the same thing with like bigger problems, like with climate change and environmental issues, that like we are supposed to fix climate change by recycling, know,
or buying this or not that
buying
product.
this or like taking a bike or like taking the bus, but like if the bus system isn't good, then these are structural problems. So yeah. So in that way, it's an anti-capitalistic book too, I guess. Yeah, because you feel that it's not directly said, but you feel that this is looking at that individual like responsibility thing from a kind of dark angle or a different angle. So I think I like it very much because I also think that this is like crazy that everybody is thinking that everything that happens to me is my fault if I cannot like somehow in Finnish say tsempata or be very active or very whatever, but if I don't continually improve myself 24/7, then I'm kind of lost. and I think people should ask themselves more often, like maybe you feel bad not because you're not meditating or living mindfully, it's just because like there's too much pressure on you in your day job, and maybe it's just, problem with your workplace and not you, not meditating or something.
Or if you have a person who has depression, then somebody might say, oh, well, take a walk, go to nature,
Yeah, exactly. And and I think it's so sad, like there's so many tired people that I meet, and mostly women actually. And in Iceland we've had like a lot of people like burnout, like have burnout, and there are so many people who have all kinds of things that are not they haven't found any explanation for, and so I think that's like a warning sign that something is probably amiss in our cultures. But then one of the things that I was also thinking is the Western medicine doesn't have the best track record in dealing with health issues for women.
That's right. I was going to mention the Invisible Women book.
Yes, exactly. And for a long, and we've had this. We've been talking a lot about endometriosis in Iceland.
Oh yeah.
And I think it affects like 10% of women or something. And it hasn't really been studied at all. Like they've done much more studies on like hair loss in men and erectile dysfunction. And so so there's a lot of medical gaslighting still going on, I think, and health issues for women are not taken seriously. Often.
And then if you go, maybe I don't know if you have to go back, but in this book it's not there because they kind of take seriously her like mental, or but they could be saying that okay, you're just hysterical, or the old one.
Exactly. And I kind of I wanted to have the doctor be nice because my doctor is very nice, and I was afraid that she would take it personally. No, I'm kidding. No, because I mean, a lot has changed. But I know women like in Iceland who have gone to male doctors and also women doctors though, and they're just like not listen to them at all.
Yeah. And there's also like I think it's interesting because this book is less than 200 pages, but it still covers a lot of themes besides the kind of actual story. So there's this, this big theme, but Eden,
yes.
It's Eden,
Eden, you can call her Eden, that's fine,
But there's this kind of crisis between her and her parents, or not crisis, but it's frustrating thing. Her mom might text that, okay, like, she's already bought the meat or the chicken from the store, and then she texts, was it that you can't eat meat or what? So she kind of knows that she's a vegetarian, but she doesn't want to understand.
Yes, exactly.
And then it keeps repeating all the time. So that's kind of one way of saying that, okay, there is a kind of this divide between people about eating meat. In here, it's a big discussion going all the time, and it's kind of this identity politics stuff. It's crazy. Yeah. But it's a fun way to say that.
Yes. It was so funny. They just published in Iceland, so they did like a survey and they were asking people about the groups of people that are sometimes seen as unpopular, and like vegan people. They asked people like, how do you feel about Muslims? How do you feel about immigrants? How do you feel about people who vote for this party, and for people, and like vegan people, like I think like 20% of people like did not like vegan people, which I think is so interesting. Like I don't eat meat, and I haven't for like 20 years, and it's so funny. And I was working at this advertisement agency many years ago with a lot of like dude bros, and they always got so angry. They were like, "You don't eat meat, why?" Yes. But you're wearing leather shoes, and they were always like trying to catch me out in hypocrisy.
Yes.
and I thought a lot about like, why were they so obsessed with me not eating meat? And I don't really know why, but people have a lot of opinions about vegetarians.
And it's very, I think, very emotional, and I don't know what happens there, but it's interesting. But it's very familiar situation in that kind of thing. But
what I was also trying to go for, I think, with that is like one of Iðun's problems is she's always trying to live up to other people's expectations of her, and her parents have this idea of her, which maybe has very little to do with who she actually is. So they're kind of always trying to impose their like her view of her, their view of her on her, kind of. And she's struggling to live up to that. But she's trying, kind of.
And it goes even to the diet, but also about the job that she is doing, or the careers, or whatever she might have. So that's kind of, that's a painful thing. Having that situation. Then there is also about human relationships, about the ex boyfriend, and then a kind of current new person who is interesting. And there is kind of very much not conflict. What is the word that you have, like this tension in the relationships a lot. The ex works in the same company, and then she tries to like not meet. And the other one wants to kind of talk about stuff, and it's kind of, it's very fun in a way to read that.
I think that is also one of the things that I think it's fun writing about. In the context of Iceland, it's the horror of always being known, kind of, because it's such a small community, and everyone kind of knows everybody, and you can never escape someone. So if you have like an ex, or you can't really go anywhere without, you might run into them or their parents or their friend. So it's a very small community which has its ups and downs. But like I think it's so freeing for us to go abroad, where you can just like because like if you were to break down and cry on the street in Reykjavik, like everyone's gonna hear about it. But if I would
in Helsinki, nobody
here, nobody would know.
No, that's right. It's maybe freeing.
So it feels kind of suffocating.
That's an interesting way to describe it, because the same job, and how do you manage that you avoid the person? It's and then but the main character is kind of a hero or heroine or something, but so she's active, she's trying to fix, or there's a problem because why I'm not sleeping well, or what is happening to me, and then she starts to find out crazy things about the nights. But she's still like a very not clearly good or bad person, but very like conflicted inside, and that makes it very interesting, because it's like, is she doing stuff that is actually beneficial for her, and is it a good idea to go to those routes? So there's, I feel a lot of when I read those that please don't do that or something. So that's fun. Thank you.
I mean, I think she considers herself probably to be a bad person. I think.
There is this element of
I think she does, but she still, and and that is also something that I've been interested in other works, when bad things happen to people who might be bad, because it's not always that simple that like bad things happen to good people.
Yeah, exactly. Was this? So you said that you started writing this book as kind of in a secret from your publisher to kind of escape for a while to that big.
So I was I was cheating. I started cheating on my book with this. It's my hidden lover.
Yeah. And you said it's a fast process, but was it clear to you that this is going to be a kind of a, well, it's funny that you say novella. It's novella means like shorter novel.
Yeah. No, it just and I think one of the reasons that I really enjoyed writing this too was because I hadn't been publishing books for adults, and I wasn't worried about read any kind of reader. I just decided to write whatever I wanted to write, kind of, and not put any for example, when I'm writing my young adult books, I try not to have like too long chapters and not too short chapters. But here I let it come out the way it wanted to come out. And I thought it would probably be longer. And when it turned out so short, I actually emailed my editor and I said, it's only like this long, like 23,000 words or something. Is that okay? And she said, yeah, I think it's fine, but I'll read it, and she was like, don't make it longer just to make it longer. So she read it and she said, no, it's just like the way it needs to be. So that was very enjoyable, not trying to write any kind of, like I didn't set myself any kind of framework for how it was supposed to look. But after I wrote this, I really kind of fell in love with this novella form, because it's a book that you can sit down and you can read it in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
And I really enjoyed that idea, or I really like that idea that you can enjoy this book kind of like watching a movie, that you can sit down and you can read it in one sitting. And so I've written 4 more novellas, which are all about women and cats.
Yes.
This was the first
cats
one.
Are here
yes,
also.
there are cats there. So I really enjoy this form. I mean, I enjoy writing longer books too, but I kind of view this. The novella form is. So I think it's a story that could also fit in a novel. It could be longer, but I'm kind of trying to cut everything away that doesn't need to be there. So there maybe are backstories, but I only hint at them. But if this were a longer book, there would maybe be chapters on that backstory. So my writing is quite economical, which is something like I didn't realize that it was until somebody mentioned it in a review. But I think it probably comes from having written young adult books for so many years, because teenage readers probably have less patience with long flowery passages describing something.
Describing the office rooms.
Yes, exactly, or like the beautiful sunset or something. So I think I've become quite trained at like sunset, orange, beautiful, and not like So I think that's probably why my writing is quite concise now.
Yeah, in this book is I think Hamo does these like square format books. I think I like it a lot, and it fits here well because some chapters are like one paragraph or one sentence. Yeah. Like I slept like this, and that's it. And so you then think about, okay, that was not a good night, and it gives a lot of room. It's like reading poems in a way. Yeah, and I was kind of when I was doing and then there are some chapters repeating, and I was kind of trying to because when you're writing a book, you can't really. Okay, so if you're doing a movie, you can kind of. Slow down the pace or like do something faster with it. So I was kind of trying to influence the pace of reading. So you have to like,
flip the page. Yes, so it was my attempt to influence the way that you read the book.
I can imagine this kind of in some sort of film way that it would be like there would be a phase that goes like boom, boom, and it goes faster and faster, and the edits are faster, and then more scary stuff is coming.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also, like in this book, like the longer you progress in the book, the shorter the chapters kind of get.
And that's funny to think about now. I didn't think about when I was reading it, but like the tiredness is obviously not going to be less, but it's going to be more because the stress level is going up. And then it's when you are very tired, everything is like, it's not great, and everything is maybe feels faster. You're slower, and it works in that sense also.
Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah.
You mentioned other novellas. I think you mentioned in the talk that there is a book called in English Dead Weight.
Dead Weight, yeah.
And I noticed that when I was like browsing the internet trying to find the background material for you, it's coming up in like May this year. Yes. And I was frustrated I can't read it yet.
Oh, I can send it to you.
Thank you. But you mentioned in the talk that there's cats, and then there is this kind of thing about we don't have to go to that book that much, but there is this idea about what is the best way to hide a dead body.
Yes.
Or and it was very funny because I have had a similar nightmare that you mentioned, that I've been killed somebody and I have to get rid.
Yeah.
And that was, and then I also mentioned that I or have like crime authors have mentioned it a lot, and they think about that. Or they might talk about it in the lunch, or what is a good way. And then,
but I think most writers. So I like I was saying before, I've thought long and hard about how I would get rid of a dead body, and I thought everyone did this. And then I started asking around, and people were like, well, "No, what's wrong with you?" But then I started asking other writers, and they were like, "Yes, of course I have." And I would, and and there's this like one friend of mine, he's a writer, and like he has discovered, so like under a building in Skeivan, there's this door to the cellar, but they never built the cellar, so it's just like a big puddle of water.
Oh yeah.
And he even knows like who has the key, like nobody goes, so that's what he would do, so so this is kind of my favorite question to ask writers, because most of them have thought a lot about this. So, and I don't know why we why we all have, I think it's maybe our overactive imagination. But that book is kind of about that, because I think because it's a really good way to get rid of a dead body, but it's quite specific to Iceland, like so unfortunately it probably would not work for you here in Helsinki.
Invent something
else.
Okay. Yeah. But I've been expecting to read that also, because I really like the style here, and I also read this, I found from Amazon actually, the Shape of Stones.
Yes,
that's a kind of it's like short story.
It's a short story, yes.
So a couple of pages, it costs like couple of euros. So
it's also free actually on reactor.com.
Okay. But I paid, I don't know, Amazon probably take all the money and you don't get any euros but anyway, that was like, there was this element of nature, and I think that was for me, of course. I also say because I used to be a big Lovecraft fan, I maybe still are in some way. There was Lovecraftian themes, I think.
Okay.
Or I felt it, because there was these stones, and then this was kind of nature is not caring about this person who is some, I don't know why she was or he was, I don't know, remember. Yeah. But sleeping.
It's so funny. So it doesn't even, so it doesn't say whether it's a man or a woman. Because it's a first person, but it's so interesting. Some people think it's a man, some people think it's a woman. So it doesn't say. So you didn't read it wrong or anything.
Okay. But there was this kind of element that there were stones, and maybe they're alive or not. And then I'm in this kind of crazy cave or something, and then it had left so many questions opened.
Yes.
But it was fun to find that, because it's difficult when. Well, Icelandic, of course, I don't know Icelandic, so I couldn't study the YA books and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's the old thing about we have to go to English to read. Like I can't read Finnish books, which I'm so sorry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, but that story, I don't write a lot of short stories, but that one came as a byproduct. So I was doing research because my next 2 books that are coming out, I'm kind of going back to, some folklore, Icelandic folklore, and I was reading about when Iceland was settled. So that was kind of a byproduct of that research, because I found these. So it's so funny because we have the sagas in Iceland, and and then we have Landnáma, which is the Book of Settlement, and it's the telling of like which Norwegian person made their farm where. Like HauKon, he came to this fjord, and this was his land, and this person went to this fjord, and that is taken at face value that HauKon was a real person and that it was him who settled that land. But then also in Landnáma they are telling stories about human sacrifices that the settlers made, that they were sacrificing humans in Iceland. But historians somehow think that that's made up, but not the other things. And I think it's so funny. Like you can't have it both ways. You can't, you can't look at something as historical evidence for something, but not other parts of it. And I was just so amazed when I realized this, because I never learned in school that the settlers of Iceland probably practiced human sacrifice. That's
very interesting. Yeah, I want to read that.
Yeah, and when we were we were reading about the Aztecs, and they were horrible, and they were making human sacrifice.
Because they're others, far away.
Yes, they're like
not Christians.
Yeah, they're like the bad, Southerners, in the, not sophisticated parts of the world. But we did it too. So I was so fascinated with this, and it's like a real stone in Snæfellsnes, where they say that they broke men on the stone.
And the blood has gone down, and happens. Yes.
Yeah, and then I'm also making some stuff up, and and another thing that was also an inspiration for this book, and like you were saying, the power of nature and something awakening in nature. I don't know if you know, but in the last years we've had a lot of eruptions.
But I remember reading some.
Yeah, and so there's we've had a lot of eruptions in the last 2 years, and it came as a total surprise to some people. But it shouldn't have been, because it's on lava. The whole peninsula is covered in lava. And geologists have been warning for a long time that this is like a volcanic system that is active every 1,000 years or so, and it was last active in 1200. So it was only a matter of time.
Yes.
And I think it's speaks to the brazenness of Icelanders to build on lava and not expect it to go off again. And now the system has awoken this this volcanic system has awoken, and it's probably going to be erupting on and off for the last 200 or 300 years. So we're in for a ride.
It's kind of scary if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's just we think we've tamed nature, but of course we haven't.
You mentioned in the talk, I think we talked about in the beginning of this discussion, but one reason of you writing horror is that you kind of what do you say, go into some fears you have, and then go, what is the most worst thing that could happen in scenarios like that. But after you've written, or maybe in this situation, now we come back to this book again because it's translated again, and you're gonna have to or can do it again in Spanish and stuff. Do you revisit those fears? Do they feel like they are okay? I'm not scared of that anymore, or is it? Do you still remember the feeling?
I still remember the feeling, but it doesn't scare me anymore. And I think, so I went to a psychiatrist and I was talking about my anxieties, and he said something that always stuck with me, that it's probably uncertainty that I fear. And I think that's probably also, why do we, imagine the worst? It's because we're trying to make some certainty in the uncertainty.
Kind of controlling.
Yes, exactly. Because once you've decided how it's going to be, it's not so uncertain anymore, So, and that's why it makes so much sense to me, after he said that as soon as I start writing about something, it doesn't scare me anymore, and, if I'm writing about a monster or I'm writing about a ghost, it's like, sometimes people ask me if I've ever managed to like scare myself when writing, but no.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what's...
already.
I know, and the thing that's scary about monsters is you don't know what it is, and like in horror movies, the monster, as soon as you see the monster, it's not as frightening.
That's right, it's got flat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing about what's scary about ghosts is you don't know who they are, and you don't know when they're going to show up, and you don't know what they're going to do. But as soon as it's me writing the ghost story, I control the ghost,
Yes.
I decide when it's going to show up and what it's going to do. And but I mean, I can still remember those, feelings that I had that were inspirations, and my fears that were the inspiration for this book. But now when I'm reading it or thinking about it or talking about it, it's like Aiden's fears.
Yes.
They're not mine anymore. And also, like, I still get these bouts of exhaustion still, like but I've learned to recognize them and not freak out and just like decide to wait 2 or 3 weeks and before going to the doctor, because I mean, I used to be a really big hypochondriac too, like I would always be Googling symptoms.
That's very scary. When you go.
And then I just learned, like, I don't Google my symptoms anymore. If I'm scared about something, I will actually call my mom and I will make her Google it, and then she can.
That's a filter.
Yes, So I'm not allowed to do it anymore.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. When you have like, or what about the future? You said that, or I don't actually know that you said it, but if it was my like translation of it, but are you still gonna do both young adult and both adult books?
Yes, I'm gonna do that. So I had another adult book come out just in March, like last month in Iceland, and then I have a ghost story for young adults coming out before Christmas, and then I have another novella coming out after Christmas.
Okay.
Because we have this. I don't know if you heard about this in Iceland. We have the Jólabókaflóð.
Yeah, you mentioned in some interview that it's
the Christmas book flood.
Yeah.
So kind of like all the young adult books and children's books, like or like almost all of the books come out just before Christmas. Yeah. But sometimes they will publish, like thrillers or like murder mysteries before like summer. But I like with my novellas, I kind of made the conscious decision I wanted to publish them after Christmas, because I had kind of gotten sick of the Christmas book flood. Because I mean, it's really fun. It's a fun time, and everyone is talking about books, and everyone is doing readings, and all the books are out, and it's a really like a book flood, but it's also a really stressful time for a writer, and especially like so I publish books very fast, and I publish a lot of books. So, but if you're a writer who spends 5 years writing a book, and then you have like 2 months to talk about it,
promote it.
Yes, to promote it, but everyone is promoting their same books at the same time. So, and then they're like publishing the bestseller lists, and you want to be happy for your friends if they're doing really well, but at the same time, maybe you are not doing so well. Yeah, so I made the very conscious decision that I wanted to publish these books, my novellas, like not in Christmas. But I mean, which maybe is not a good like economic decision, because they probably would sell better before Christmas.
But I understand, wanted to go off of that kind of flood. Yes.
Yeah, that crazy merry-go-round kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we don't have exactly the same. We have kind of I think autumn is the big because there's book fairs a lot.
Yes.
And then there's this certain like price category stuff that has some kind of this, but it's not exactly because you guys have like total Christmas book season.
Exactly, and it's really crazy. But I mean, it's really nice in a way that like everybody is talking about
that's
books.
good, of course.
Yeah, but it's a really stressful time because there are always like some books that get the attention, and then there are some books that never get a chance. And then it's also frustrating, like if your book is late, like if you can't turn in a manuscript before May or something, you have to wait the whole year. You can't just publish it like 2 months later. You have to wait for a whole year.
When you have those kind of, let's say, I don't know if that happens a lot, but let's say you have this kind of new fear or new thing that it's kind of worrying you. Is it so that some of those get so big that you can't stop thinking about it? And do you write them down, or what do you kind of store those ideas, or is it kind of automatic?
So I think one thing is I have gotten a lot better about handling my anxiety. I think I've just learned, like not letting myself Google symptoms anymore. So I think I don't let it get as bad anymore. But I certainly but if there's something, and I do this also, I mean, it doesn't have to be my fears. It can be whatever. When I come across something that I find interesting or make me go, and I don't know if like interesting is but something that like gives me pause, I try to like remember those things, and because they are often like I was talking about earlier, that you need 3 things to make
themes
and often like I read about something or somebody tells me something and I know like, and that interests me for some reason, and sometimes I don't even know why it's something that interests me. It's just that it does, and I don't usually write it down because I've had this theory that if the idea is interesting enough, you're going to remember it. But like maybe I've had a lot of interesting ideas, and then I forget, so maybe that's my hubris. Maybe I should start writing them down. No, but I usually like try to like really notice the stuff that makes me go, and sometimes it's just like a piece of gossip or, like, oh, did you know what happened to this guy? Or, it can be anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I sometimes think about that, or I'm scared of losing any ideas that I might have, and then kind of write them somehow down. I have these kind of to-do list software stuff. And then I don't really go back to them at all. Or then I start to look at them, what was the point of this? Yeah. Sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, but I realized something which I maybe is an answer to your question earlier. So like before I had children, I started to write a story about this couple who have a child who dies only like a few weeks old. And I realized as soon as I got pregnant, I couldn't write that story anymore. And I don't know if maybe I like, and now my kids are like 11 and 13, so maybe I could write about that baby now. I don't know, but so I think, I mean, different fears, and that's also like trying to write horror or writing horror is like what scares you is really subjective, and the same thing with humor. What somebody feels is funny is somebody else doesn't feel it's funny. So sometimes I'm surprised that people tell me that they think a certain scene or a certain thing was the most scary part in the book, because I was convinced that this was the most scary part. So different things scare us, and also I think different things scare us at different times in lives, and also just like what kind of, like, for some people it's really scary to talk to your boss about something, but to other people it's not.
That's right.
And like I used to have like fear of performing and reading to people when I was starting up, but I don't have that anymore. so it changes.
Yeah, that's good because it would be very hard to do these promotion tours. Oh no.
Yeah, no, but I realized like a few years ago, like because I was going to go on stage and do a talk or a reading or something, and I just realized like, no, I'm not nervous at all. And I was like, wow, a few years ago I wouldn't believe that.
It's funny. I saw this play. This was it a couple of months ago. It's called Book Fair. It's about a book interview that goes awfully wrong.
Okay.
So it starts normal, and then there is kind of this. Then there's the people realize that they actually was an ex-couple who were interviewing each other, and then they start going to the histories, and it's getting very like unpleasant. Let's say it's a comedy, but still it's like, oh no. Yeah. So that's, I don't know, but what would be other worse things that could happen here? One thing I wanted to ask about, if you still, we have this. When I got the message about Tina, about that there's like some feminist like themes, and it's there, and then I started thinking about like what books would be something that would be like that in horror genre, and I'm not sure. I don't like have it back in my head. For me, it's also like horror is mostly comes to me by movies. Yeah. And then I thought about, okay, are there movies that could fit in that kind of? I found a couple that my favorites in that way. They have like these. They take maybe some like what's that patriarchal situation and flip it around. Okay. In a way. So for example, Men. You have seen the Men movie, have you?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Well, you should maybe watch it. But then, have you seen this kind of movie that's just revenge?
Is it called Revenge, the movie?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it, I think.
It's about this woman who is there's some guys who are trying to do violence, and then she takes matter into her own hand, and it's total annihilation.
I love those movies. Like a rape revenge.
Yeah, it's that one, but it's modern. It's kind of very modern. It looks like a fashion shoot in a way, but it's lots of blood and stuff.
I think I've seen it. I have seen it.
There's beats and
Yes, it's like with a lot of like colors.
Yeah, lots of colors.
Yes. Yeah, I have seen it.
Those kind of things are. And then what came to my mind was this. I think it's Iranian or Iraq. A girl walks home alone at night.
Yes,
have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it, but I have heard about it. I really want to see it. Yeah,
it is. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, and also Promising Young Woman. Have you seen that?
No, I will write it down.
Yeah, it's Promising Young Woman, and then another movie that I really loved. It's called Fresh. Fresh.
Okay.
And it's kind of, if I can spoil it, it's so funny. So so it's about this woman, and like she's dating and she's going on all these horrible Tinder dates. Yeah. And then she meets a man in a grocery store, and they like go together, and he's amazing, and then they go for a date, and he drugs her, and she wakes up in his basement, like chained to his and she's like, "Are you gonna rape me?" And he's like, "No, what do you think I think I am? I'm gonna sell your meat."
Well, that's much better.
Yeah, so he's like really like, "No, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm
yeah, exactly. I'm a good guy."
Yeah, I'm gonna sell your meat. I think it's really interesting, and I really love this. So I write screenplays too, and I actually have. So my literary manager in the States, he introduced me to a film agent who is gonna, and I wrote a screenplay actually that she's gonna take out soon. I was really happy with this idea, and I wanted to write. So it's about this man, and he becomes convinced that his best friend's girlfriend wants to eat him. And it's my kind of take on, but like nobody believes him because she's so nice. And she's only weird when it's just the two of them. Oh, okay. And how many times like they're like usually like predatory men or like sexual predators. They're only creepy when they're alone with the like with the, and then they're so nice in front of everybody else. Yeah. So I think that was like funny, interesting to flip it.
Oh yeah, totally. Yes. All right. Do you have any like book recommendations at this point for me?
So I think you're really missing out on like so there's a whole genre that is like what you were talking about. It's called Good for Her books.
Okay.
Good for Her. And if you go on Instagram, like Good for Her. And so it's most of the time or often it's, women turning the violence against violent men, kind of. And Rachel Harrison is, I really like her. She writes, and she might be. I mean, I don't know if she would be comfortable with like the chick lit label, but I think she's definitely subversing that. So, in some ways, she writes about the types of women that are often in chick lit, but they're horror books and they're really interesting. And she's really good on like writing about female friendships and the complications that can, because they can be like really intense relationships. So I really like her. And T. Kingfisher is another horror author that I really like. T. Kingfisher. And she writes a lot about she is like you can just see from her books that she's a total nerd, and she gets fascinated maybe with a type of bug or something, then she writes a whole book about it, and then
ultra focus.
Yes, and then she gets fascinated by this type of sea creature or something, so they're like very informative too. And her newest book is called Wolf Worm, and it's about like all kinds of creepy bugs and about the bugs that made there's an actual bug that Darwin, when he learned about this bug, he stopped believing in God because it's such a horrible parasite.
Nice.
Yes. And so they're quite informative, so you can learn about that in her books too. So I really like their books. So my recommendations for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you think we haven't covered for like the Darkness Between the Stars book, or the Yöjuoksu or Night Guest, the same book actually?
No, I don't think so. I think we have everything. Nothing comes to mind.
That's good.
Yeah.
I recommend the book, but it's not paid advertisement. I really liked it.
Thank you.
And it was very nice to talk to you and meet, and also like discuss other stuff, and also hear your talk about the horror. It was very interesting. So thanks a lot for taking the time. And and I'm really looking forward to the dead weight also.
Yes, thank you. I really enjoyed our talk.
Thank you.
I can send you that weight.
Thank you. I hope your publisher doesn't listen. No. But one more thing, I have to say this because it's kind of funny. It relates to the discussion about if the entertainment books or crime books are appreciated. There's this Finnish author who lives in Iceland.
Sattu Raum.
Yeah. Who has like her book is like total success in Finland, the book series about Hildur.
Exactly.
So it was funny because Tina sent me, this person from Iceland that is called Hildur. It's supposed to.
Yeah, it's great. She's making me famous now. No, Hildur is a very common name in Iceland, and I think especially for my generation. So I'm born in 1984, and I remember like in school, I was in this class, and they were like doing the readings like Hildur Knútsdóttir, Hildur Káradóttir, Hildur Sólu,
so many.
And I think like one time it was like 7 of us. Yeah. So it's but they just did another survey about the names of Icelanders, and Jón and Guðrún are still the most popular names, or the most common names. Yeah. So
Okay, but we can end here.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for this, and hope you enjoy Helsinki and whatever.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a lot. Kiitos kaikille. Ensi viikolla jatketaan.
Okay.
Hello.
Moi. Bye.